The one and only Olivia Fair. Come on, Olivia. Guys, I want you to pay attention. I don't want you talking. I don't want cell phones out unless you're taking notes. Olivia's got a great word for us tonight. And I asked her, I said, I want you guys to share something that you think I don't preach enough about or don't preach at all, where you guys are like, oh my gosh, why doesn't he preach about this? I said, I want you to preach about that subject. And so last week, Dusty shared about what? Being lukewarm versus being passionate. Do you remember the story he shared? What was the story you shared?
There was this church that was going away from God and holding on to the earth. And so one of the things he said is that he would vomit it out.
In the book of Revelation, the church of Laodicea, yeah. Okay, and that was the scripture reference, right? And what was the story he used? He's a really good story illustration. What was the story? It's a true story.
There's like a train.
Don't laugh, because it looks like you're already laughing. It's a terrible story, so don't laugh.
I don't really get on.
It's an inside joke.
Anyhow, there's this train that's like there's two drivers or whatever. One's on this side of the train, one's on the other side, and they're both shifting the train in their directions, and it ended up, I don't exactly remember, it didn't go anywhere because they both were using the same amount of power trying to pull a direction, but they couldn't go anywhere because they were both pulling the same, different directions.
And basically what happened was it was inside a tunnel. It's a true story. World War II in Italy. There's about 600 passengers aboard of this plane. There was one steam engine on the front, and if you look even in trains today, there's train engines in the back. And what happened is either of the train engineers were pulling opposite directions. And it was inside a tunnel, and they didn't know what was going on. So the front guy would put more power, and it would budge a little bit, and the back guy would budge more power. And what happened was, from all the smoke and the carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, whatever, got in the tunnel area, almost all the passengers died. It's true story, almost 500 people died. It's one of the biggest train wreck disasters in history up to this modern day. And so he just shared about being lukewarm and how we can't just kind of wiggle in the middle. We got to decide to live passionately for Jesus. So tonight, Olivia Fair is going to preach a great message, and she was sharing with me earlier. It's really just now like, man, Olivia, even I need to hear that. So let's just take it away, Olivia.
Hi, welcome back to our talk. I'm just kidding. So how many of you guys like to sleep? I sleep all the time. It's a problem. Sleep is a good thing. Sleep is really important. So what I'm going to talk about today is the importance of rest. So in your relationship with God, I know it's really easy for me. I get overwhelmed super fast. If I take on too much at one time. I mean, if anybody takes on too much at one time, you'll get really overwhelmed. And it's really important to learn how to take a step back and take a break. And it's okay to say no to something. So I'm just going to talk about that. So sleep. I have some facts about sleep. Did you guys know man is the only mammal that willingly puts off sleeping? When you're tired, most people usually animals, they go to sleep. But humans, they delay it. I delay it a lot. A lot. How many hours do you guys spend on your phone, when you're trying to go to sleep? A lot. I spend a lot on my phone. So that. Also, did you know if you're on Mount Everest, it's harder to fall asleep than if you're in New Orleans? That's low to the ground, right? Yeah. It's harder to fall asleep because the higher the altitude, the greater the sleep disruption. Because you're getting a lack of oxygen, and you need oxygen to sleep and also live. But it's because of that. Most people need 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. I get 4, but 7 to 9 is what you're supposed to get. I'm just kidding. I usually get I got 8 last night, so it's good. I'm just kidding. 12% of people dream in black and white. Dusty sleeps in black and white. I was trying to find something to drag him on, because he made fun of me last week in a sermon, but he's not here, so I can't make fun of him, or else it doesn't count. Then it's just mean. It's kind of mean even if he was here. Huh? That's true. Whatever. I'm just kidding. Anyways, we spend approximately 1/3 of our life asleep. So I would say sleep is a big factor in your life. Big factor. And then sleep deprivation will kill you faster than food deprivation. Yeah, so you can go, I think it's a month without food, but most people, when they stay up for 11 days, they die. You're dead at 11 days. Not funny. It's not funny. So that leads me to what we're going to talk about, the importance of finding rest in the middle of a restless culture. Our culture is always saying to go, and do as much as you can, especially there's there's always this big moment to do as much as you can before you die, which is good. I'm not saying don't do anything like in your life, but what we tend to do is we pick up everything we can and we never take a second to take a break and take a rest. And that mindset isn't ideal or realistic or sustainable. You will die eventually. But yeah. So I just want to tell you a story. This year we had fine arts and then we had a mission trip that weekend right after. And so I get really overwhelmed really fast. Like if I get stressed out or if I'm like tired, especially if I'm tired, I'm super emotional. Like sometimes I'll text people at like 11 o'clock. Like I'm like super sad, like what just happened? And then I'll fall asleep and I'll wake up and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fine. Forget everything I just said. Ignore that. And yeah, so sometimes they like, yeah, anyways, lack of sleep is not a good thing. But so during fine arts and the mission trip, fine arts takes a lot out of me because I try to do, you try to do as much as you can because you'll only have fine arts for a few years. And so there was a lot, and then there was the missions trip, and then that's very mentally draining to put yourself out there every day. And then we got back, and then we had all state choir stuff and everything. It was just a lot at one time. And I got really, really tired and worn out really fast. And it started to affect nearly every avenue of my life. I was really irritable, and I wasn't fun to be around, and I was honestly just really mean to like every one of my friends. And it started to affect a lot of my relationships, especially with my family and my friends. And ultimately, it affected my relationship with God, which was a big problem for me because I didn't really know how to handle that when I started to I didn't distance myself from God, but it was kind of like there was a block, and it was like I would read my Bible, say a quick prayer, and go to bed, and nothing was happening. And I would get frustrated, like why do I feel like this? Why am I so down? But then I would have to come here, and I wouldn't have to. I do enjoy it, but I would lead worship, and that takes a lot more than it looks like. And so I was just really, really worn out. So I called James. I was like, I need a break. Like this isn't working. But no, this isn't working to keep going because I know, like, this isn't really how God wants me to do this. And so I took the rest that I really needed. And to be honest, I'm still kind of working on it, but I'm getting better. I hope I'm fun to be around now. I try my best. But when you get all the way burnt out, it's not very easy to come back. During all that, I was not me at all. I was not myself. I was not the person that God wanted to be. And I was not my best. And when you're not your best, when you're not getting rest, you're not your best. We've been talking about that one for a while, and I can't believe I messed it up. When you're not getting rest, you're not your best. Specifically in church culture, the pressure is always on to be doing like everything you can for God, which is great. Give everything you have to God, but you have to remember that you can't do that all the time, and like sometimes you just have to take a break. And God's not disappointed in you when you say, I'm sorry, I can't lead worship tonight, or I can't come serve at this thing. It's totally fine. Now don't get stagnant in your relationship with God, but make sure that you're taking time to work, especially on your relationship with God, because it's really hard to find that time, especially in full-time ministry. It's really hard. And you have to go back to the source of God and get your rest. Matthew 11:28 says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. So it's biblical that Jesus will give you the rest that you need, and you just have to take the time. Like Jesus, you see it many times in Scripture that he went away from everybody, and he got followed a lot of times because he was pretty incredible, but he always took a second to step back and move away and take time to talk to God. And there was one point he took his disciples, I'm sure he did a lot, but there was one point he specifically took his disciples to take rest. I imagine it kind of like a retreat, like a staff retreat that they do at the church sometimes. It's really funny. And Jesus took naps in like the craziest situations. So physical sleep is really important. That's actually my favorite Bible stories, when all the disciples are on the boat and then they're going out and there's this huge storm and they're like, Jesus, what the heck? I didn't say that. And then Jesus is like, calm down to the storm. And he turns to them and he's like, why do you not trust me? And I like to imagine he like kind of like went back to sleep after that, because he was probably tired. He had a lot to do. So yeah, the fact that you need sleep to function and everything. It's not opinion, it's actually in the Bible. In 1 Kings, there is a guy named Elijah. And Elijah's really incredible. He's super cool. He's got awesome stories. And one of his crazy stories, I think this was probably a high point in his ministry. Elijah was doing something in 1 Kings 18, and he met up with like 450 of Baal's prophets. And Baal was was an idol from biblical times. And so he met up with the prophets. And Elijah, the feel I get from him, he's kind of like, he's kind of cocky, like he's kind of mean. He's like, yeah, which is good. You should be confident in God. But he kind of like goes out and finds people to challenge, and he's like, yeah, guess what my God can do? And so what he did, he found him and some other, they referred to them as them, but I couldn't figure out who them was, but it was just like his buddies who had swords. But it was his friends, and they found these prophets, and he was like, I bet that my God can start a fire for his sacrifice before your God. And they're like, no, my God can do that. And then, so he was like, okay, let's test it. So they took 2 bulls and 2, wood things. And so they they set up 2 sacrifices. And he's like, all right, Baal, prophets, you go first. And so they went from dusk until dawn. They were like going at it. They were like screaming and crying and prophesying and begging their God to let fire rain down from heaven to stop. I'm not saying that. To let God, so they could have their sacrifice. But nothing happened for like, I think it was either 3 days or a day. They did it for a while, a long time. And then Elijah walks up and he's like, get 4 jars of water. And they're like, what? And he's like, get 4 jars of water. So they get 4 jars of water. And then he's like, okay, no, pour it on the sacrifice. And they're like, what? And he's like, pour it on the sacrifice. And then, so they do it. He does it, and he's like, he prays for a minute. He's like, God, send down the fire, and bam, there's a fire. And then he's like, suck it, prophets. I'm just kidding, he probably didn't say that. I'm just kidding. Anyways, he might have said something rocka. He might have said something different. He does that. Anyways, he does that. And then, so this is like, he is like on top of his ministry. He's like going, he's on like, I'm trying to think of like a parallel, but basically, he's doing the best. He is feeling he's literally on top of the mountain. But if you remember, you can't get proper rest when you're on the top of the mountain. And so what happens in 1 Kings 19, we'll go, if you have a Bible, I don't know if anybody has a Bible, but go there. What happens is after the sacrifice, after God rains down fire for Elijah, he's like, okay, now go kill all of those prophets to his buddies. And he referred to them as a them, but I couldn't figure out who it was. But just some people that were on Elijah's side just murdered all of Baal's prophets. And now, so there was a Queen Jezebel, and she was big into Baal. She was a big fan of him, and so those were technically her prophets. And so she hears about this, and she's like, he did what? And so picks up in verse 1 and says, now Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, may the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them. So basically she's like, I'm going to literally kill you. Even though his God was the one who sent the fire. So I feel like at that point I would be very afraid. And so you think Elijah, he's at this high point. He's like, okay, my God just did that. My God will protect me. But as soon as she says that, he was afraid and ran for his life. Which I feel like if we were in the same situation, I would also be very afraid. But, I mean, you should try not to be, but I would be afraid. And so he ran for his life, and when he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there, while he himself went on a day's journey into the desert. So I think he was still like trying to get away from Jezebel. And he came to a broom tree, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. Take my life, I'm no better than my ancestors. So basically, it doesn't make any sense that he would run away to die if she was going to kill him, but he was pretty freaked out. So essentially, and then he laid down under the tree and he fell asleep. So this guy was exhausted, like mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. He was probably like not all there. I mean, he was probably, but he was really tired. And so what we can get from this is it is super important. Even if spiritually you're at a high, like you're doing great, and you're like, I don't want to take a break because God is doing awesome things. Even if you don't want to, you need to learn how to like take a step back and to, connect with God and get the rest that you need. So I have 3 points. I mean, my biggest pet peeve is when people say stuff like that and they're like, yeah, so go take a nap. And they're like, don't tell you how. So I have 3 points. Okay, I mean, take a rest. Okay, never mind. Anyways, when they have like a sermon, but they don't tell you how to apply it, that really affects me. So I'm gonna tell you 3 ways. The first way I would say is take a nap. Literally, like physically go to your bed and take a nap. Someone once told me sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is take a nap, because when I'm really tired, it's like I want to read my Bible, I don't want to pray because I can't. Like my mind is like, I'm not going to get anything out of this 2,000-year-old historical text if I'm not focused. And I feel like if you have, it's kind of counterproductive to try and do that, and then you won't get the rest you need, and then you will still be, you're not rested. And so you can't serve God in the capacity he needs you to when you're not rested. Anyway, so that's one, thank you. So the second one is take a break. For me, I have to take a step back and say, hey, I can't lead worship for a few weeks. Like, I need to take a break. And so right now, God is not disappointed when you take a break. That was my biggest thing. I was really nervous to do it because, like, am I letting down God if I do this? If I say, I can't do this right now. And it is totally okay to say no and to focus on resting and to get yourself back to a good place. And luckily I can come back to it, I think, if he lets me. But it's just really important to take a rest. And the third thing is to take a knee. Take a knee, like Tim Tebow, before he goes on to the field, he prays and he takes a knee. And so the third thing to do is just pray and talk to God and talk to him like he's your best friend. He wants to hear from you. Like, someone said this illustration to me one time. It's like, he's so excited to talk to you. Like, he just wants to hear from you. And that changes a lot for me because, like, he's not like just this big guy upstairs who I ask things from. Like, it gets very personal. It's like he's your best friend and he wants to talk to you and pray, and it makes it feel so much better. It's so much more nice, especially if you're not just like, hey God, can you do this and this and this for me? And then I love you, goodbye, good night. It's like, hey God, let me tell you about my day. Sometimes I just get into bed, and have you guys ever seen that Kermit the Frog meme where it's just like, and he just sighs? That's sometimes what it's like. And I feel like he appreciates that a lot more than me just asking things for him. So it's really important to pray and to learn how to take a rest. So those are my 3 points. There's real consequences to not taking a break, and it's really hard when you get burnt out. It's like burnout can ruin the most faithful people. Like, I haven't seen it personally, but I know of a lot of pastors who they put everything into their work and they got really big and up there, but then they're like, I've not even given any of this to God, and so it didn't mean anything. And so just make sure you're putting in your time, or you're getting time with God to rest. In 2014, there was a man in the city of Suzhou, it was in China. He tried to stay up to watch the FIFA World Cup in one long marathon TV session. Which, that's dedication, that's incredible. I don't think I could do that. Yeah, that's incredible. But this meant he was awake for at least 11 days, and that was enough to kill him. When he was brought into the hospital, and it was one of the first recorded cases of death by lack of sleep, the doctors concluded that, in fact, it was brought about by sleep deprivation. And then, again, during Euro 2012, there was another Chinese man who stayed up to watch the whole thing again. Hey, soccer's cool. And after 11 days, he also died. Suggesting that even if you love soccer, you probably shouldn't watch it nonstop for over a week. Or even over a day, that's just bad. But it just goes to show, even if you love what you're doing, even if you love leading worship or serving or helping in nursery or anything like that, or anything, like even if you love sports or like art and stuff like that, it doesn't just go for ministry. You can get really overwhelmed in everything. Even if you love it, it can very badly hurt you, and they literally died. So rest is one of the most important things to keep you going, so please don't skip out on it. So can we dim the lights a little bit? I'm really not good at like altar calls, but if you guys, I struggle with this a lot, and so if you feel like you need a break and you need rest, I just want to invite you to come down to the altar, because God can do awesome things when you take a minute to pray. And we just want to pray with you. And if you want to come down, let's go. Yeah. I'll pray with us. Dear God, we know how easy it is to become overwhelmed with everything that happens in life, and it's easy to look past it and to just blame it on everything else. God, I pray that we can all learn to take a second and to come back to you and to take rest and to know who you are. And that even in the midst of chaos, God, that we know you're still there, God. You're incredible. We love you so much. And you're awesome. And I pray that we just get the rest. Amen.
Amen. Just keep your heads bowed and your eyes closed. We'll end this way. We'll take about the next 4 or 5 minutes. And we're just going to allow God to do His. And that was a really good word tonight. I know that was, it didn't speak to you. I know it spoke to me. Because I need to take rest. There's times when I just keep going. I want to do this. If that's you tonight, say, you know what? Life's been so insane. Life's been so crazy. I'm always running around. I'm always trying to please people. I'm always trying to get up early and do this. I got this job. I've got these friends. I've got my parents. I've got this youth pastor. I've got this pastor. I've got youth sponsors. All these people I'm trying to impress by doing all these different things. I'm trying to be on the worship team. I'm trying to play sports. I'm trying to keep my Snapchat streak. I'm trying to keep all these things up. And you don't even realize it, but if you just take a second to stop, you realize, wow, I'm pretty overwhelmed. And Olivia shared a verse tonight with every head bowed and eye closed. It was Matthew chapter 11, and it was verse 28. And it says this. I'm just sharing what Olivia shared. It says, Jesus said to them, He said, come to me. All of you, everyone, come to me. You who are weary, you're tired, and you're heavy and with burdens. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I know there's a few of you in your room that you just feel overwhelmed. I know because you've told me. Can I be honest? Probably in this last year, I'm kind of hitting that point where I'm kind of getting like burnout. I'm just like, keep going, go, and I need a break. I'm the first one down this altar tonight. If that's you, just want prayer, just come up forward. If it's all of you, that's all right. But I just want a few of you to come forward tonight and say, I just want rest from God. I just want God to teach me how to rest. Just come up to the front right here. 1, 2, 3. Just come right up front. When no one looking around, just come up front. Man, thank you guys. Amen. Thank you for coming down. Yes. Praise God. If you guys would just step back just a little bit. And Olivia's going to come right in front of you and pray over you. Olivia, if you just want to start over there, just lay your hands on you and just pray. I want you to pray these words, Olivia, that God would give people rest. Say, may the Lord give you rest. May the Lord give you rest. Now, whether you realize it or not, I know the summer is kind of the lazy 8 weeks of our year. And it's easy to be like, I'm not really tired. You will be, and you've gone through. So no matter what, even those who are in the pews, I want you just right where you are, in your seats. At least stand right where you are in your seats. Right there. And I want you to just pray and just talk to God right where you are in your seats. Just tell God, say, God, I want rest. I need rest for my soul. Ashley, if you'll just come behind those same people that she's praying for, just lay your hands on them tonight. Hallelujah, Lord. And as I pray, I'm just going to pray out loud. If you don't know what to pray, if you're just kind of not sure you're there spiritually, then you can kind of agree with what I'm saying. But I don't want you to mentally disengage. I want you to mentally engage. So just pray with me, just quietly say, Jesus, Lord, I want more of you. Lord, I want to find rest in you. Lord, you are the source of life. Lord, even when I get restless, when I get tired, when I get burnt out, may I have the wisdom from what Olivia said tonight, that I will just press pause, that I will just stop, that I'll just begin to slow down. Not forever, but just for a few days, maybe for a week, maybe for a few weeks. I say, you know what? I'm putting sports, I'm putting football, I'm putting baseball, I'm putting basketball, I'm putting soccer, I'm putting volleyball. Lord, I'm not putting any ball sport in front of you, Lord. God, I don't want to put it in front of you. Maybe it's your instruments, maybe it's your practices for music. Maybe it's your dance, all of those things. You go. Maybe you're so concerned about getting into a good college and you're so worried about test scores. Listen, God wants you to do well. God wants you to run with what He's given you. But some of you don't know how to rest. Take a pause in life. Get some sleep. Take a break. Some of you guys haven't taken a knee and prayed to God. This is your time right now. This is your time to take a pause, take a break, take a knee, and just talk to God. So right now, just for the next 45 seconds, just I want you to just talk and make a prayer to God. Just make a prayer to God. Just between you and him. Say, God, I need to chillax you. I need to relax my life. Do that right now. Ready, set, go. God, that we can just take a step back and know that you're there and know that your peace is real. And I pray that everyone can just leave tonight knowing that, like, wow, like, that's what I needed, I hope. And I just pray that everybody leaves knowing something new. Amen. Amen. Hey, can you just give a round of applause for Olivia tonight? That was a word from God. That was a great word. This is how I want to do this. If you, we're going to end, and we're going to go play some Nukem if you want to hang around for a little bit. But if that spoke to you, maybe just go up to Olivia and say, talk to her and say, hey, man, this part of the sermon really spoke to me. But I challenge at least a few of you to do that tonight. I know it feels good when maybe I've done a sermon when someone's, man, that really spoke to me. But, man, Olivia, this is kind of out of her comfort zone. So I want you guys to share with Olivia something that spoke to you tonight. So we love you guys. Oh, and last but not least, our church does a co-ed, that means boys and girls, softball league in the fall. And so if you want to sign up for it, you have to be 16 years or older. They lied, you can be 16. And so you can sign up for it in the church in the fall. We'll see you guys next week.